Welcome to the Food Bloggers Table. Pull up a chair for authentic conversations and actionable advice from fellow food bloggers and industry experts. I'm your host, Jen, and I create custom food blogs designed to earn top-tier ad income. Join us now at the table as we break bread and build brands. Going viral on Instagram is the dream. And I dare say you have reached the apex of the dream. You have had your viral moment and since then have had kind of these follow-up viral moments. Can you take us through what that looked like for you, where you were when you started and how you got where you are now?
Yeah, so when I started, it was really slow growing and it was taking a lot of effort to really stay consistent because in the beginning, you'd put up a video and nobody would see it, especially when you're
Nobody.
first starting out. And you also know that the algorithm, especially on Instagram at least, is always changing. And so everything almost needs to fall into place
Mhm.
for something to happen. And
Yes.
I wasn't even looking for a 1 million view reel. I
Mhm.
just wanted 5,000 views. And I remember the summer before, so that would be summer of 2024, I was barely breaking 300 views on every reel. And I was on the verge of just stopping. But something just kept saying, let's just keep doing this. Let's see what happens. And that one reel, everything just fell into place. I don't exactly know what happened.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't planning for that too. In fact, the recipe was made on a whim. I was in the kitchen making a different recipe because sometimes I like batch cook.
Absolutely.
I don't have many days to do it with kid
Right.
activities. So I might be making 3 or 4 recipes in a morning. And this day, I remember thinking, I really want something with peanut butter and chocolate. And I was just trying to add a little extra protein, just trying to find something a little healthier. And I was like, I'll just film, I'll just turn record on and just see what happens. And I ended up loving them. So I wrote it all down and I posted it. I didn't even know it was going to happen to the point of my nails weren't done, which is a big issue for a lot of people. And,
People
but
will
as
find the
mom,
most ridiculous
I,
stuff.
yeah, I don't have many moments to always get my nails perfect. So I posted it and I was away with my husband. He
Mhm.
was on like a conference and I was thinking, I'll just get to read this whole weekend. Like I won't need to do anything. And on the way down, all of a sudden I was like, what is going on with this reel? And the comments just started coming in to the point where I could not keep up. And at
Wow.
first, you're
Right,
trying to
right.
answer everybody, but I was getting like 5 to 6 comments, it felt like every 10 seconds. And
Wow.
it was pretty intense for a while. And so that weekend, that's what I did
I
was
was going to say no reading for you.
yeah. So yeah, why it went viral, I'm not exactly sure. I think people love a sweet treat that's easy, that's doesn't need to be baked. We love our chocolate, but
Amen.
people also are looking for not always having something processed all the time and something that is easily made right at home with simple ingredients. So I think that was one. And I think the
Mhm.
other one was hooks. I'm still struggling with hooks on my reels, but it does seem if you get a good hook, you do a little bit better. I wasn't sure if I should do this because I didn't want to give the wrong impression to
Mhm.
anybody. But the first thing that the reel itself said was help me. I didn't want people to think like something was wrong.
Right.
I am very aware of that, but I was like, it's a good hook. It might just make people watch a couple more seconds and then I'll move forward. So between that and my voiceover asking people to help me name what these
Mhm.
would be because people question whether I really was thinking about it. And I really was thinking about it because like chocolate peanut butter discs just didn't sound good to
There was
me.
just something not
Yeah.
exciting about that.
Yeah, and so I think I was connecting. People were feeling like they had a say. They were
Yes.
feeling seen, especially if like I would comment on their name. I think it drew people to that. So I think all of that together is really what made it work.
So, with your hooks, you were talking about
Mhm.
hooks. Were you referring to the hook on the actual reel itself or the hook in the caption or both?
It's everything. It's everything. something. I've played around since then. Sometimes, like, I just don't have the time and I want to get my recipe out and people to see it. But you want to get the people who are hard of hearing. So they're not going to be able to hear a voiceover, or especially if your captions aren't working or whatnot. At night, I'm never listening to my husband's sleeping and I'm trying to like scroll
Yes.
quietly. So you also want something on the reel itself. And I don't know how many people, especially in the comment sections, will ask for the recipes when the recipes are in the caption already. So I don't think everybody's even looking at the caption. So you want it everywhere.
I agree. Do you ever
And
worry that you're saying the same thing too many times? Because I know when I first started, I was always like, oh, I can't say that again. I literally just said it over here. So I feel like I can't say it over here.
it's happened a few times. Sometimes I'll try to reword it. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, that's a really nice sentence and I'm just going to keep that. Especially if it's my voiceover and then in the caption. I don't know if I had written it as a text overlay
Right.
and then in the caption, I probably would try to switch things up a little bit.
Okay.
If it's a voiceover in the caption, sometimes I'll keep certain things the same.
That makes sense. So, how many people did you have before the viral moment? Did you have a number specifically, or can you think back to
I
that?
think so. I had somewhere around 2,500 people.
Okay, so 2,500 people.
Followers.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am currently at 79.7 thousand.
1,000.
Yeah. So
Wow.
definitely like a very huge jump. And I would say a majority have come from that reel. And I have a few others that have done decently, brought in some as well. And so that's wonderful. That reel has changed everything for me.
Mhm.
And that's huge. Also scary
Yes.
because a lot of people that followed me from that, I'm now worried, like, will you leave if I'm not producing that same type of stuff? I'm trying not to worry about the follower count, but it's a little worrisome too. So,
And I appreciate your honesty on that because I
yeah.
think that's the side of virality that people never consider is okay, all I got to do is get them. Yeah, but then how do you keep them? So there's
Yeah.
also this interesting
Mhm.
dynamic between getting followers and keeping followers. And in that same vein, how do you balance drawing in new people? Of course, we know we want to always be attracting new visitors, new
Yeah.
customers, new
Mhm.
clients, new readers, but still speaking to those that have been here at the 2,500 range, those that were there in the beginning. How do you balance that?
So I am still, I feel like figuring that out a little.
Mhm.
I am trying to, especially in stories, that's where I will try to connect. I need to get a little bit better at
Mhm.
stories. Just again, it's time. Sometimes I'll go through the day and I'm like, I've done nothing on my story.
Yes.
So there is where I try to reach out to followers and say, what are you looking for? I'll occasionally put in ask me anything boxes or what kind of recipes would you like to see more of? The problem that I have found with that is when I ask those questions, a lot of people will answer. I think the last time I asked, it was like, we want like easy dinner recipes. Great, that's awesome. But they typically perform the worst for me.
Interesting.
So I do try to throw them in, but if nobody's engaging, I can't really
Mhm.
grow.
That makes a lot of
And
sense.
and I don't necessarily think it's the recipe itself. Like I mean, I love
Mhm.
all the food I make.
Sure,
I wouldn't
certainly.
share it if I didn't love it. And that does happen. Sometimes I make a recipe that's just not so good and we just scrap that. But and we go back to the drawing board. But I'm trying to keep the followers that I have and let them know
Mhm.
their voice does matter here, but also balance with I still need to grow. And so
Mhm.
if people aren't engaging with that, I need to find what they are engaging with. Yeah, so trying to balance there. The other thing I had a hard time with, which I just need to improve, is I need to get better at, especially with going viral so fast and growing so fast, introducing myself more to people because I haven't had as much time to do that in like a shortened period. But that's on the list of things to do. Like another, hey,
Right.
welcome, this is me, so that the new followers feel there's this personal element to it. So the other thing is that we have chosen not to show the kids. I am a strong believer that they didn't ask to be on social media. I don't want them shown. So that makes it hard sometimes, I feel like, to find some of that personal connection because I'm home with my kids all day.
Right.
And so I do occasionally occasionally try to snap a picture and then cover their faces. Still, I'm sure there's some people who don't necessarily love that either. They like want to see what your kids look like. So that has just made it a little harder to show more personal life. But I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure out that right balance too.
I chose the same path with
Mhm.
my own family, but I think sometimes we forget that not everybody wants to share every single piece and part of their life. And especially on social media, when you have a larger following, they look at you almost instead of a recipe blogger or a recipe
Mhm.
creator, it's more like you fall under influencer in that influencer area. And I think
Yeah.
that that's where people have this expectation, oh, I'm going to see everything you do. Every time you do this thing, you're going to share it with me. But
Yes.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's a decision about boundaries and how we have to pick the boundaries that before you go viral, when you have 2,500, you need to have the same boundaries in place as when you
Mhm.
have 2.5 million, because there may be a day, like with your day, that escalated really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put those boundaries in place then
Yeah.
if you've already not had them in place early on. So
Yeah.
that would be something I think I would suggest to people is decide before you have your viral
Mhm.
moment what you want
Like your
to
plan.
share when things do go viral,
Yeah.
if they go viral.
Yeah, and we know that you put it online, it stays there. Even if you decided to stop when it went viral, there is most likely a way somebody
Mhm.
might be able to still find some of that information. You're exactly right. You need to know what your boundaries are from the get-go.
I think that's just being wise.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking ahead of time. Okay, would I share this if I had
Mhm.
2.5 million people watching it? And if
Yeah.
not, maybe rethink your strategy. We all evolve as creators and that sort of thing over time. It just happens, right? We lean into a niche a little bit more, or we go a different direction. Like you were saying, people are asking for these easy dinners. And so
Mhm.
you put it out there and then maybe it's flopping or nobody
Yeah.
really seems to be into it. All right. So you pivot and go a slightly different direction. And letting your audience guide you in that is a great way to see what's going to stick. I know you said that time is difficult when you're at home with
Yeah.
kids. Obviously, time is of the essence. How
Mhm.
much time would you say you spend on Instagram? And is that your main form of business at this point? Because I know some people have blogs, some people have websites.
Yeah.
Is Instagram sort of your business?
Yes.
Okay.
It's pretty much it. I
Okay.
am possibly venturing into making sourdough for people, but my primary kind of business is Instagram. I
Okay.
would say I'm on it every day. How much depends on the day, but it's a lot more time than you would think because there's a lot of those in between moments where, okay, I'm going to check, I'm going to answer any comments real quick. And so you're doing that in addition to most nights I'm editing something or typing up a recipe. And this started before the Instagram, but I've always had recipes going in my mind, writing down something I just thought of. So
Right.
to work on later.
That's
When I first started on Instagram, I was posting 7 days a week.
wow.
And it was just too much. Too
Mhm.
much. So once I got a little bit more traction, I actually cut that down to 5. So I try to take my weekends off from being as present, which I think has helped. But I still probably need to pull back just a little bit because I'm
Mhm.
trying to find that better balance, like home and work and everything. And this is all new, really, up until maybe a couple months ago. And still, some people look at me like, what is a content creator? And is this real? Can you really do anything with this? And maybe I was one of those people when I first started, but now I am getting a little bit more support from people.
It's the online space is a very unique world,
Mhm.
and most people in real life, they
Yeah.
don't get it. It doesn't make sense because it's not a tangible
Yeah.
job. It's not, okay, I do a service or I do this thing and there's an exchange. It's so unique. And so many people are like, now what does that mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes even when they ask, I'm like, I don't even really know
I
what
know.
that means.
I know. Yep. Still figuring it out. Every day I'm learning something new. I will say, if I were talking to somebody in a younger generation, it's much more accepted.
I
And
agree.
like now with my follower account, it's almost like it doesn't feel that way at all. But they almost act like I'm a little celebrity standing there.
Yeah.
But if I were to tell somebody in the older generation, it's much more like you can't go back to your other job.
I
So
exactly. Yes.
yeah. So it's been an adjustment.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Now that you've shifted from 7 days down to five
Mhm.
days, you have specific times of the day that you try to post to keep like more of a consistent posting schedule. Do you use a scheduling system of any kind, or do you just do it when you have time?
So honestly, I'm
Mhm.
still figuring that out as well because the algorithm always changes. Some days I only have time to do it at this time because my kids have things going on, or we have appointments or whatever. And then sometimes it's more planned. And I'm actually currently trying to really figure out this week because I typically will post in the mornings, somewhere between 9 and 11. And I seem to have a lot of other content creators, like in my niche, there at the same time. So we feed off of each other, try and help boost each other. But I haven't been getting much traction off of that. So I'm trying to use the insights to Instagram and post like a half an hour before it says I have the strongest engagement.
Okay.
And we'll have to see what happens because I've tried it in the past and I don't feel like it's done a lot for me, but I haven't done it enough. And then, of course, like once you start doing that, I check again and the time's changed. It's so dependent on your followers for the insights. So sometimes it's when I can, sometimes I try to be strategic, but I don't have anything scheduling it for me. I'm trying to just look at what's happening, gauge it by that.
I think that's a really good point too, because when you do have your viral moment, your whole audience dynamic is going to change very rapidly. And so
Yeah.
not only are you getting this influx of people, you're getting an influx of people who may have different patterns and behaviors related to the algorithm that weren't there previously. So now, like
Mhm.
you said, it's kind of like going back to the drawing board and going, okay, well,
Yeah.
everybody used to like it at this time, and but now we've got this
You have
whole
to shift
different
everything. Mhm.
grouping.
It's constantly changing. And then you might be performing well for a week, and then all of a sudden everything drops and you did nothing different. And so sometimes I'll reach out to other creators and I'm like, is this happening to you too? And sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no. So the algorithm will just change on you. And then you've got to figure out the new one. A
Which
lot of
is
times it's
very
a guessing
frustrating at
game.
times.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. But you just have to roll with it and just remind yourself it'll pick up eventually. Hang in there while it's happening. I will say I am currently experiencing the down from the viral
Mm.
moment. This past week, my viral reel, it was going for 6 months.
Wow.
This week is when it stopped. And
Interesting.
so I was gaining hundreds of followers a day for months. And then all of a sudden it went down to 10. So navigating that, I feel like is one of the hardest things because you're on
Mhm.
this like high from, oh my,
Yes.
what I created, so many people are seeing. There's a celebrity liking it. All
Yes.
this stuff.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's just done. And you're like, where do I go from here?
Exactly.
So, navigating that currently and just understanding that this is normal and hopefully something will come back another time or something will go viral again. Social media is wonderful. I am so grateful for everything that I have right now, but that highs and lows, it gets you on this.
When you go viral on Instagram, I imagine that the high is the highest peak,
Yeah.
but then I'd say that valley is just as hard, but
Oh,
like
yeah.
the total opposite end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. It was a pretty sad day a couple days ago. I was like
But
feeling sadder than I thought I would feel.
what's so interesting about having those types of moments too is that once you are able to step back from it a little bit and get past the emotional component of it,
Yeah.
is really unpacking what made it good and
Yeah.
trying to almost compartmentalize all the different components, Frankenstein your way into recreating that again
Yeah.
and figuring out, okay, the hooks, that seems like that was
Mhm.
definitely a good thing. So let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
All right, this seemed like this was good. And really just taking all those components and trying to craft and see if you can do it again. And it's almost creates a new challenge in a good way. But like you said, now we've got a new challenge also, not only just to recreate that virality, but two, to really speak to the people that are there.
Yeah.
So you went from 2,500 ish, something in that neighborhood, to now we're up to how many again?
79.7 thousand.
Wow. So almost
I know. I know. I was like,
80,000.
really? You couldn't get me to that 80? Just get me there.
Come on, people. We need a couple hundred. We just got to get to the next 10,000.
I know.
So my thought is once you have gotten from there to there, you still want that relational piece. 1 to 2,500 is hard.
Yeah.
1 to 80,000 is near impossible to create that one-on-one. But the cool thing is you're really taking the time to actually engage with your followers. I think that's what's going to keep people around longer. I think my biggest encouragement for someone who is maybe trying to find that perfect cocktail of going viral, keep doing the relational things because the relational things are going to build a solid foundation.
Yep.
And then Frankenstein your way. That's probably not a great way to say it, but Frankenstein your way into figuring out what it was about this thing.
Yeah.
So what would you have told yourself now that you're on the other side of it?
I think ultimately be patient.
Okay.
Don't be looking at the last viral video. You can look at it for some inspiration, but
Certainly.
don't look at what somebody else did and say, I'm going to recreate that if it's not in your niche or if it's not what you love. Stay true to yourself and then keep working on your skills. Because when I first started, oh my gosh, I was just looking at some of the original videos and it was a little rough. Then try to study some of these reels that have gone viral. What did they have? You want to keep people's attention because that is what Instagram likes. And if you're holding people's attention, they're going to keep pushing it out because ultimately they want you to stay on the platform as long as possible. I think those are some of the biggest things. Also, feel free to reach out to the creator of a viral reel. Some won't answer you and some will. And a lot of times they are really helpful, or they may say it was just luck, but it's also that helps you form connections even within your community too.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Food Bloggers Table. I'm your host, Jennifer Holt, and I look forward to serving you in the next episode.